Spring training is here. What to look forward to this upcoming season for your San Francisco Giants? It's all coming up on Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Stiles. Welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, thanks to you, the #1 sports podcast network. On the show, we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that combines passion, analytics with the eye test, and a little bit of fun. I'm from the Bay, but I live in Sacramento now, and I host a show on Sacktown Sports 1140, as well as emceeing Sacramento Rivercats games. All in all, I'm lucky enough to cover a team I've been a fan of all my life. Today, we are discussing the important dates for spring training as it is here. 3 big questions heading into the 2026 season. And last but not least, Bryce Eldridge moving to the outfield. What? Yeah. So let's start with these most important dates. All right. Some logistical things that I wanted to make sure everybody got, but also another name came off the board about an hour ago. Justin Verlander is headed back to Detroit. Obviously, that is where he spent so much of his time and kind of built up who he is as a pitcher and his career. So that was really cool to see the whole thing come full circle, if you will. This is from Jeff Passan. Right-hander Justin Verlander and the Detroit Tigers are in agreement on a 1-year contract. Verlander, who turns 43 next week, returns to the team with which he spent his first 13 seasons and whose hat he'll wear in the Hall of Fame. 13 seasons, man. Okay. Good stuff from Justin Verlander. And I know some of you are, I guess taking a deep breath or exhaling as far as Justin Verlander returning to the Giants. I know some of you would have liked that. Some of you wanted to move forward, and we're going to move forward. All right. We're going to move forward with some of these young guys, Trevor McDonald and guys like that, to see if they can kind of take a step forward. Obviously, you already have Adrian Hauser and Tyler Mahle, but the question is, hey, you're always going to need either 1 or 2 extras that you feel good about because the season is a long one and a lot of things can happen. So we'll see what happens on Max Scherzer. That's obviously the other name that we had thrown around. There was a thought that maybe Justin Verlander would come back to the Giants, but I'm wondering now. I just think it was kind of a weird situation for Verlander last season. He pitched well. They didn't pick him up. He didn't pitch well. They ended up hitting. They would win for other teams or other pitchers. And, he's obviously chasing that milestone. So it was just a weird situation. So I'm not terribly surprised that Justin Verlander decided, I'll see what else is out there. And he gets to go back to where he started his career and, kind of made a name for himself. So good on him. And I do also wonder, even though it was kind of a weird situation, does the fact that maybe Max Scherzer and his connection to Tony Vitello, maybe that's brewing a little bit, and Justin Verlander knew that and thought, okay, well, I don't think I need to go back to San Francisco, but also, headed to the AL Central, a little different than heading back to the NL West. So maybe, I know you get the Rockies every now and then, but maybe Justin Verlander was thinking, I think I'm good from the West Coast and the NL West. So yeah, because of all that, obviously, everyone's going to turn their attention back to Max Scherzer to see if maybe he's a guy that the team would add on. It's different because obviously Justin Verlander is chasing something in particular. I think Max Scherzer is just here for the love of the game and just wants to continue to play baseball. So, I don't know how open Justin Verlander would have been to coming out of, you're not going to get, you can get a win from coming out of the bullpen, but, he wants to start and he wants to show what he can do and he wants to add to that win total. I don't know that Max Scherzer feels the same way, or if he does, if he's been as open about it per se. So good on Justin Verlander. Thank you for your time with the Giants. Kind of a weird one, but yeah, we appreciate what you did. Well, they say forever Giants, so we appreciate you in the orange and black, and good luck in Detroit. Speaking of, a couple other names that had been thrown around. I saw Dominic Smith. Somebody was mentioning how Dominic Smith hasn't gotten picked up yet. I thought that was pretty interesting because, I thought he played pretty well for the Giants, and I don't know if he's waiting for the right situation, if he's been getting calls and they've decided to not sign, or if he hasn't been getting calls. But yeah, a little bit surprising that Dominic Smith hasn't been picked up yet. And, just what's going on at first base, especially bringing in Luis Arias. There's nowhere for him to be. Speaking of Luis Arias, yeah, with pitchers and catchers reporting, I know it's called pitchers and catchers reporting, but everybody seems to be in the building. Tony Vitello had some good quotes out there. Luis Arias says he hates strikeouts. There's video of him taking ground balls at second base. So you start to get a little bit excited. And I know everything that we've talked about, and on its face, he is not supposed to be a great fielder. But, when I watch him talk and hear what he has to say about hitting the baseball, the last thing I'm thinking about is exit velocity, launch angle, or any of that. The dude just hits, right? The dude just finds a way on base, and that's what he's going to do on the Giants. He's friends with Willie Adames, so that's always good when you're joining a new team to have some type of familiarity. So yeah, there are a lot of notes. I mean, all of the Giants kind of beat writers are all over this. You can see a lot floating around right now. Tony Vitello had some great things to say about the team and, his expectations for what this season could be. And a lot of people are just excited to hear from him and, kind of get this thing rolling. This is when you're going to have the most hope, possibly of the season. Right? Possibly of the season. So you should take advantage of it, feel good about it. And obviously, the hope is that this season ends in a better way than last season's did. This is from Shayna Rubin. Matt Chapman said he's been catching Tony Vitello up the players, given insight where he can. He said Ron Washington is already working us hard, and we haven't even started camp yet. We're already doing drills every day and going through this whole routine. So yeah, a lot of people are just, like I said, there's a lot of hope right now going on for the Giants. I did have some dates that I wanted to make sure that all of you are aware of, because it does sneak up on you. Okay, so obviously pitchers and catchers reporting today and tomorrow, February 15th, the first full squad workout. This is from Jeff Young, who kind of gives a breakdown here. The next step is the first full squad workout. Position players are allowed to arrive a couple days later than pitchers and catchers, similar to his note above about pitchers and catchers reporting. Many position players have already been working out with the coaching staff at Scottsdale Stadium. In fact, many own houses in Arizona for this purpose. February 21st, the first Cactus League game, the first game of the season, always feels like a relief. It is a sign that the long winter was far too cold, wet, and dark is coming to a close. The Giants face off against the Seattle Mariners at Peoria Sports Complex at 12:10. Nothing better than turning on the Giants radio broadcast to listen to the game. Players will likely be limited to just a couple at bats or innings during the first few weeks of spring training. Next, you have March 19th, the spring breakout game. This is a relatively new event. The Giants will face off against the Cincinnati Reds spring breakout squad at 1:05 p.m. They will be on the road for this game. It is a great chance to highlight some of the top prospects coming through the farm system. March 21st, my birthday, so, very important day. But March 21st, the final Cactus League game. By the time the final game comes around, folks are already getting ready for the regular season. The final Cactus League game will take place against the Guardians at Scottsdale Stadium. And then after that, you'll be ready to go. By the way, Sacramento River Cats, March 22nd, come on out. Maybe you can meet your boy. I'll be out there, of course. So that is going on the day after my birthday. So you do not want to miss that. So yeah, just wanted to lay out some of the important dates for you. On the other side, let's get to the three big questions that Andrew Baggerly of The Athletic has. And I say it from Andrew Baggerly, but really, a lot of people are saying the same thing, and a lot of people have the same questions. So let's get to them right here. Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Giants with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonsfgiants.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. If you're a true diehard Giants fan, the Everydayer All Access tier is built for you. You'll get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, and exclusive newsletter, and 15% discount to the Locked On merch store. Head to lockedonsfgiants.supercast.com to join the Everydayer Club and unlock all access. You can also find the link in the show notes. Next segment with you, and we are breaking down some important questions that Andrew Baggerly of The Athletic has. But, a lot of these questions are pretty similar to what we're seeing from everyone, whether it's the SF Standard, NBC Sports Bay Area, Mercury News, all the Chronicle, all of these outlets are kind of saying the same thing. But there is one thing that Andrew mentioned in his article, which is why I chose to highlight his instead of some of the others. So 3 burning questions as spring training opens. So Andrew starts here. Will the rotation hold up beyond Logan Webb? Webb has gotten better and better since his breakout 2021 season. He's led the NL in innings for 3 consecutive years, and he's appeared on Cy Young Award ballots in each of the past 4. The Giants squandered so much of that love and labor. They are 67 and 65 in Webb starts over the past 4 seasons. That's crazy, by the way. Even with the league's most reliable starting pitcher providing quality start after quality start, they've circled the drain at 500 on his day 2 pitch along with everyone else's. It's like the Giants have owned a flourishing flour mill and had no idea how to bake a loaf of bread. They might want to preheat the oven at least. It's hard to imagine that the Giants will break free from their 4-year fixation with the 500 mark if they cannot be a winning team behind their best pitcher. That'll be especially important to achieve because the rest of the rotation is not nearly as bankable. There's genuine hope that Robbie Ray will be the first half all-star and not the second half pitcher who faded to a 5.54 ERA over his final 12 starts. There's no way that Ray, 34, should have been pushed to throw 182 and a third innings, 6th most in the NL, after Tommy John surgery and a right flexor tendon repair limited him to 7 starts over the previous 2 years combined. The 2021 AL Cy Young Award winner will enter this season with a better baseline. If Adrian Hauser and Tyler Mahle have a baseline, it's in serious need of rechalking. The Giants didn't want to spend at the top of the free agent market, so they went with upside plays on short-term deals. That's a good strategy when you're looking to round out the rotation with number 5 starter, but the Giants are doubling down with the middle of their rotation and hoping that Landon Root makes a healthy return from his knee injury too. It'll be a bad omen if any of their starting 5 falls by the wayside before opening day. Here's the other one that everybody is now talking about and a bit worried about. Will Bryce Eldridge be ready to begin the season? Eldridge is the Giants' best hitting prospect since Buster Posey, who established himself as an everyday player in the midst of a World Series championship season in 2010. Now it'll be Posey's decision to determine when to integrate Eldridge, 21, into the major league lineup as a designated hitter who can spell Rafael Devers at first base. It might be assuming too much to say that Eldridge enters the spring with incumbent status. His big league debut last September was more about an acute roster need than his own readiness. He hit 108 with 13 strikeouts in 28 at-bats, but he did draw 7 walks. He didn't appear overmatched, and when he made contact, it was mostly barreled. And Baggerly goes on to say that he's only played 117 games above A-ball. Is Eldridge ready for an everyday role in the big leagues? It's an impossible question to answer, but a strong, healthy, and confident spring would be a most welcome sight. The Giants certainly want Eldridge to be ready, to the point where a few spring homers might serve as confirmation bias. The signing of Luis Ariz gives them a backup plan in case it becomes clear that Eldridge needs more seasoning. Ariz signed to be a second baseman, but could serve as a lefty DH if needed. Now, all fine and good. We've talked about those two things already. Okay. This is what I want to focus on. The last one that Andrew brings up. How much internal improvement is realistic? As the depth chart currently stands, Elliot Ramos would be the starting left fielder on opening day. And that means Ramos would end one of the strangest and funniest non-streaks in franchise history. He'd become the first left fielder to start consecutive season openers since Barry Bonds in 06-07. You'd think this would be a welcome development after a nearly two-decade carousel that included names like Fred Lewis, Nori Aoki, Mark DeRosa, Jared Parker, and Dave Roberts. Yes, the Dodgers manager, except Ramos was the worst offensive left fielder in the majors last season. It'll help to be flanked by Harrison Bader in center, but the Giants need Ramos to fix whatever suddenly made him inexplicably unreliable last season. He talks about Jung-Hoo Lee, who needs to be a better right fielder. They have to improve their base running across the board after somehow missing the memo about rule changes that incentivize taking risks on the bases while finishing last in the National League in stolen bases for the third consecutive season. That's ridiculous. He also writes, and they'll need at least 2 or 3 pitchers on the 40-man roster or elsewhere in the organization to establish themselves as reliable options. He brings up Hayden Birdsong. It's weird to think that Hayden Birdsong could be the most pivotal player in the NL West. There's also a pretty good chance that he is, whether it's Birdsong's confidence coming back to the mound or getting Ramos's confidence back in the field or creating an environment where everyone plays like they're college sophomores who went a little overboard with the eye black, is where Vitello and his coaching staff can make the biggest potential impact. It's also the area where they will be most highly scrutinized. Okay, so great stuff from Andrew Baggerly. Yeah, that piece that he talks about as far as the internal growth, that's the part that I'm very worried about. And he brings up Jung-Hoo Lee and the base stealing and Elliot Ramos. I guess you don't have to worry about the infield anymore with Luis Ariz now going to be your second baseman. We've talked about Patrick Bailey. He's going to do what he does as a defender. Hitting wise, we just hope that he can continue to improve there. No notes. I do wonder what we'll see as far as the switch hitting conversation. Once we see Patrick Bailey get out there, will anything come up, or will any decisions be made there? But yeah, that's the biggest thing. And, you know, his number one question tied into the number 3 question, because if Tyler Mahle and Adrian Hauser, you know, those gambles don't pan out for you, where do you go from here? I saw something, again, I was reading through all of the different articles, and my guy, Kerry Crowley, he of the SF Standard, he also has brought up Hayden Birdsong as a possible closer. So it doesn't really matter to me as long as Hayden Birdsong is being productive, right? Obviously, you always need starting pitching, but it doesn't matter to me if he's a starter, if he's middle relief, if he's a closer. Just be somebody that we can depend on to eat up innings in a productive manner and not give up the long ball or give up walks or anything like that. So it doesn't really matter to me where Hayden Birdsong helps the team, as long as he is ... helping the team. So that's the second time we've seen the Hayden Birdsong thing come up as far as him being a closer. I will see what comes of it as, you know, spring training gets underway, how they utilize him, how they utilize some of the other guys, the internal pitching staff that they have that they're hoping takes a leap. And look, you got to take multiple bites at the apple. There are enough names out here that one of them should be able to produce. I'd say maybe even 2 of them should be able to produce. So if that's Hayden Birdsong and Trevor McDonald, or Trevor McDonald and Blade Tidwell, or Carson Wisenhunt and Hayden Birdsong, those guys probably have the most season to them. As long as it's a combination of those two guys internally, if they're helping in any capacity, I think that vastly improves the Giants' chances of making the playoffs. You need that from somebody's multiple guys on the squad. All right, one more segment with you. There's been some conversation about Bryce Eldridge moving to the outfield. We have briefly talked about this before, but can we expect to see him on any of the corners during spring training? Don't move. More Locked On Giants coming up. So this started on the Giants Talk podcast with Cole Kuiper and, of course, Alex Pavlovich, and they just brought up the fact that this could be a thing. So Around the Foghorn is kind of giving their take on it. Says top SF Giants prospect Bryce Eldridge could change positions. This is unlikely to be a sudden change, but maybe over time, the Giants may decide to shift Eldridge to a corner outfield spot if they feel he is a better fit there rather than first base. After the addition of Luis Arias, who may very well end up being a nice bit of Eldridge insurance if the prospect is not truly ready for the big leagues. The Giants now have 3 players on the roster who are best suited for a first base or designated hitter role. The Giants are going to try to make it work at second base, but if that's a risky endeavor and it doesn't pan out, then they will have 3 guys competing for 2 spots in the lineup. That could force the team to get creative by getting Eldridge some experience in left field or right field, which is where they initially put him after he converted from being a two-way player before switching to first base. They could at least give themselves greater flexibility and could find different ways to include his bat in the lineup. Alex Pavlovich and Cole Kuiper, the hosts of the Giants Talk podcast, compared moving Eldridge to the outfield to when Giants would use Brandon Belt in left field sometimes. Tall guys can play the outfield too, so it would not hurt to give Eldridge some more reps out there, especially in spring training when games do not count. Of course, how Eldridge performs at the plate is going to be far more important in determining his success. By the way, sounds like he's going to be ready to go from that wrist surgery that came out today, as a lot of these guys are talking to the media. And, when I was looking up more information on this Bryce Eldridge outfield thing, I saw an article from 2023, and I believe they had him, he was in left field, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's definitely spent some time out there. As I've said before, just seeing him in Sacramento, I don't know if he was fully healthy from the leg standpoint. And obviously, the way you run the bases doesn't necessarily mean that you can't play the outfield, but he is not a quick runner at all. I mean, that is not what he's going to be. So I can't necessarily see his range being outstanding, right? You're just kind of hoping that the ball doesn't go to him, if we're being completely honest. You're just hoping that it's just a standard routine play, and anything else you're kind of just watching with one eye open, hoping that it works out for you. Yeah, this is going to be fascinating. And this is a situation that the Giants put themselves in. Somebody else, I believe, who was it? Kyle Harrison, who went to my high school. Shout out De La Salle. Kyle Harrison got moved again. So the return that the Red Sox got for Rafi Devers, on top of losing Alex Bregman, it's just been a nightmare for the Red Sox. So I'm not coming down the Giants road on deciding to go get Rafi Devers, even if it is pricey. It just was going to have a ripple effect on Bryce Eldridge, and maybe they felt like they always could move Bryce Eldridge back to the outfield. Maybe that was part of this too. So that's something that could come up here during spring training, maybe a little bit later, but you want to get him reps that don't matter. Or the other option is you send him back to AAA, but when you send him back to AAA, you move him to the outfield. Here is my worry with this. He's still trying to learn first base. Now the conversation's coming up that maybe he would go back to the outfield. Obviously, these aren't premium positions, but they are important, specifically first base. So the Giants just need to figure out what exactly they're going to want from Bryce Eldridge moving forward throughout his defensive career in San Francisco, because it seems like they just don't actually know what they want from him. And when you have somebody that is still trying to learn things, but one second you're telling him this, the other second you're telling him that, that's tough. And that isn't going to be very easy for Bryce to handle as a young player in this league. What do you want from him? So it's not that I have a problem with them going ahead and seeing where he fits best, but you're kind of throwing a lot, drinking from the firefighter hose, if you will. And that's not an easy thing to do for anybody, let alone somebody who just turned 21. So I don't know. I think the Giants need to, and again, this was just from, I guess, some ideas that it could happen. The Giants haven't come out and said that he's going to play the outfield, but it just feels like something that could easily come up if Luis Arias is a nightmare at second base, or, whatever the case is, just seems like a natural thing that could come up. So I don't know. They just have to make a decision. And obviously, the fact of the matter is you have two first basemen and Luis Arias, who has more recently played first. So if all these guys are hitting and you want them all in the lineup, trust me, if anybody played baseball, that's an outfielder's nightmare to me. Whenever you see an infielder taking reps in the outfield, that means you need to get your you-know-what together. That means you need to start figuring this thing out, because that is a nightmare. You're on teams and there's already 6-7 outfielders. Then all of a sudden somebody else comes out, right? The shortstop or whoever, the first baseman. Hey, buddy, what are you doing out here? Oh, coach told me to get some reps. That's not good. Trust me, I've seen it. That is not good. So if you're an outfielder, by the way, it's good if you are, that infielder, because that means they're trying to find you a spot in the lineup because you've been doing your thing. So, I just want the Giants to kind of focus in on what they want from Bryce Eldridge and, give him a clear path to success, not throw too much from him or throw too much on him from Jump Street. That's my fear with the Giants. Thank you for watching Locked On Giants. Thank you for listening to Locked On Giants. Be sure to follow me on social media at @_Styles Files, Styles with an I. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Giants ad-free, plus members only Discord access and more. Head to LockedOnSFGiants.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.